Welcome to Catching Up with Council. I'm your host, Leah Haslage. Today we're catching up with Councilwoman Phyllis Cleveland of Cleveland's Ward 5. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Leah. Good morning. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, we love having you here. Tell us how long you represented Ward 5.
I've represented Ward 5. It's been 13 years as we wrap up this year, 2018. 13 years.
Wow. And what neighborhoods is that comprised of?
The biggest part of Ward 5 is the central neighborhood. Most people know that, but I also represent Kinsman, Garden Valley area, parts of Broadway, Slavic Village, North Broadway, and the Hyacinth neighborhood, which is right off of near Francis Avenue. I have a part of downtown, 9th Street going south. The 9 is actually in my ward.
Oh. So you have a lot of area you cover.
Yeah, a lot of the Gateway District, a big part of the Midtown Business District, the Campus District, and there may be a smattering of a couple of other areas as well. So I have a pretty diverse ward made up of different neighborhoods, different districts.
And a lot of residents.
A lot of residents, absolutely.
So where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Now, I grew up in Central. I'm nearly a lifelong Clevelander. I was actually born in Texas, but I've been in Cleveland since I was 4. And my father's family are rooted here in Cleveland. And so I've lived in the Central neighborhood within a 4-block radius my entire life. So I went to Cleveland schools. I graduated from East Tech. I'm a proud Scarab. Yeah. And went to Case Western Reserve, undergrad and law school. But I come from the same neighborhood. I've always lived in the same neighborhood. So I'm a Central girl at heart, but I love Cleveland, and I love Clevelanders, and I love all my neighborhoods.
Did you know you always wanted to run for council? Did you want to be in politics, have an interest in politics?
Not really. I always wanted to do something to help people. And that's something I knew as a small girl even. Yeah. My friends say I was just a do-gooder, all the way back, but I really started becoming interested in politics probably in high school during the Watergate era. Watching Watergate and the Watergate hearings was really fascinating experience. And then later in college, when I started thinking about going to law school, my interest in politics really got stronger as I studied the civil rights movements and how a lot of the changes that were made were done by lawyers. Yeah. And so I wasn't necessarily interested still in being a politician, but I just saw it as a way to help people.
And then what inspired you to first run, which was like in 2005, I think?
In 2005, and actually I had thought about it by then. The Mayor Jackson, of course, was my councilman for many years, and I really admired the work that he had done in our neighborhood. I grew up in Longwood Apartments, which was a really troubled housing complex, and the mayor and some other activists were really instrumental in helping us turn the apartments around and bring in new leadership and new owners. So, and I really saw the kind of work he did, and he wasn't even the councilman then. And then when he became the councilman, I really saw how he put all those things together. His activism, his pragmatic approach to things, and his ability to relate to people, and that just really inspired me as one way of fulfilling my dream of helping people and making my community better.
That's great. Now, being a councilwoman, you're not just a councilwoman, but you have a specific role right now. You're the majority leader.
Yes.
Tell us about that position and what that all entails.
Okay, well, I'm the majority leader of Cleveland City Council, which means I'm the number 2 person in leadership. Our council president is Kevin Kelly, and when he's not around, I act in his place. But even more importantly, part of my role is to support him in leadership of this council and setting our agenda, our legislative agenda, our initiatives that are important to council members, making sure that their needs are being met, that they get the resources that should be allocated to them, help them navigate problems and issues in their communities. And so I support the council president, and at times, I'm also, working with the majority whip, who's Councilman Blaine Griffin, and there are times when we need to shore up our votes on a piece of legislation or something that's happening. And so, I'm sort of the bridge between those two gentlemen, making sure that we move this council forward. That we stay focused on our agenda, that we do the work that we need to do to serve our constituents.
And what committees are you also a part of?
Well, I chair the Transportation Committee, which is a new assignment for me.
That's exciting.
And so, yeah, it's pretty exciting. So that's, of course, the airport, our ports, our water, our seaports, lake ports. But also, what I'm going to help the committee do is move into a new area which we hadn't really gotten into, which is public transit. Now, it's a very important issue in this city. We've had seen the issues with the lack of funding of RTA, the Regional Transit Authority, and the impact that has on our communities, basically higher fares and cuts to service, which are not good for my communities. They're not good for any community, because public transit is really a key component of a thriving economy in any urban area.
Very much so.
Yes.
Now, speaking of thriving, you have so many projects going on in your neighborhoods right now. Tell us about some of these new developments taking place.
Oh, where do I begin?
Right? I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, a lot of things. One of the things I'm really very pleased with and proud of is our community radio station. Our Community Development Corporation, Burton Bell Carr, got the funding a few years ago to do a community radio station. And so the station actually, we spent several years doing the research, a lot of legislative work because it's the federal government, and dealing with the FCC, so just a whole new branch of things that we never had to deal with before. Building the radio station out in Bridgeport Plaza, which is where Burton Bell Carr's offices are located on 72nd and Kinsman. And so we have a state-of-the-art radio station there. They're on the air 24 hours for the most part. Lots of radio shows, and we're training people in the community to host and produce their own radio shows. So it's really exciting. It's entertainment, but it's a learning experience, and for a lot of people in the community, it's an opportunity to have their voices heard on a large scale, to learn new skills that they can take and go somewhere else and get into radio or broadcasting. So it's really just it is just great, and it's. The station is 95.9 FM WOVU. Our Voices United.
Yeah,
absolutely. You got to check it out. We have music, we have talk shows, sports, community affairs, politics.
We cover all the
We cover
areas,
everything that people in the community are interested in. So that the radio station is just really something that I'm really happy about. Another project coming up, and people may have heard about it already. It's gotten some news coverage, but it's called the Box Spot, and it's going to be at the corner of East 81st and Kinsman, and it is a retail center built out of shipping containers.
Oh wow!
And so they're going to, they're being retrofitted and tricked out with every amenity that office space would have, but the rents will be lower for people who come from our communities and communities like mine who can't afford to pay market rate rents in commercial districts. So this will give them the opportunity to have a professional space for their businesses at a price that they can afford, and it gives them the opportunity to grow their business at their pace.
That's great.
Yes. So.
And there's developments with various schools too, the colleges, right?
Yes, Tri-C Metro Campus is transforming its space actually, and right now they're rebuilding the student center. If you drive by or if you ride the number 14 or 15 bus by, you see that they're doing a lot of work over there, and what you're going to see when they're done is a beautiful new student center with glass facing that is open and inviting to the community, and it's just going to be great. And a couple of things I'm really excited about is because they're going to have a Barnes & Noble bookstore, which is one of my favorite places in the world, and a Starbucks.
That's good. Two things that college students need.
Absolutely.
Coffee and books.
And books. and not just the college students, but the surrounding community.
Yeah.
It'll be a great place to go for people. Just you need to get away. You need some quiet time to read or do some business. yeah, if you want to read, if you want coffee, if you want to just commune with people, you know, it's going to be great. So I'm really looking forward to those things opening. Right across the street from Tri-C, we have a new development called Sankofa Village. It's been open now 2 years, and it's a development of CMHA, Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority. And I have to remember, everybody doesn't know the acronyms.
Yeah.
But what they did was, it used to be the site of a Cedar Extension, a pretty rundown public housing development, and so that was completely torn down. And Sankofa Village is it's a development of an apartment building and townhomes, and it's a mixed income development. So some residents are on public housing, other residents are paying market rate rents, and you know, it's a beautiful development. The units are big, they're nice, they're modern, and everything that you know, you find in any other neighborhood, and you can't look and say, well, that's public housing or that's market rate. It's all the same, and people, you know, live there together, and you know, it's going very well, and we're preparing for the next phase of development.
That's fantastic.
Right now,
so
they're
many people.
They're going to bring some more townhouses, absolutely. So it's really transforming, you know, that entire block at East 30th and Community College, Tri-C, Sankofa Village. At some point, there's going to be some changes involving Jane Addams High School. So again, you know, there's just so much right at that corner. It is just going to be fantastic.
It's exciting for the community.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll talk about another big opportunity happening in your ward. So stay tuned for more Catching Up with Council.
Until all our daughters are safe. Until all our children have families. Until all our families have homes. Until all our parents are cared for. We'll be here.
At Burton Bell Carr, our focus is really on doing the work. And so what we like to tell people is that we could show you better than we could tell you.
I grew up right across the street in the old Longwood, and so I saw this neighborhood through some good times in the old days, and I saw it through its worst decline. And the work that Burton Bell Carr has done in the last 20, 25 years is transformative.
I'm Donita Carey, and I live in BBC's central area. BBC, they care about our area. They welcome us, like to come out. They have stuff for the kids. It's a nice place.
The city is only as strong as its neighborhoods. When we think about great partners and vibrant neighborhoods, we think about Ward 5 and everything that that neighborhood has overcome over the last 2 decades. It's just an amazing example of rebirth and revitalization. And that's one of the spokes on the wheel that is keeping Cleveland strong. And it's organizations like Burton Bell Carr that help make that possible.
I grew up in this area. My grandmother went to church across the street, and it's funny how it came full circle. I had the opportunity to work with Tim on a committee about 3 years ago, and I hadn't been in the neighborhood since. So just coming back to that first meeting, it just blew my mind to see the change and how much it had taken place over the past 10 to 15 years. And ever since then, it's just been such a pleasure and honor to sit on the board and be a part of this transformation.
We learn in the process of listening, and when you truly listen and have an intent on being responsive to what residents identify as the issues, in doing that, innovation and creativity happens.
Welcome back to Catching Up with Council. I'm your host, Leah Haslage. Today, we're catching up with Ward 5 Councilwoman Phyllis Cleveland. Welcome back, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Leah.
So we just discussed so many new developments and opportunities happening in your neighborhood, but one of the opportunities coming through is Opportunity Corridor, and it's impacting much of your neighborhoods. Tell us about what this is and how it's going to impact.
Okay, Opportunity Corridor. This is an ODOT project, and that's the Ohio Department of Transportation. What it is, it's a boulevard being constructed that's designed to connect I-490, where it ends currently at East 55th, to University Circle. It's providing a diversion that cuts through a lot of our neighborhoods in order to make the roadway happen. And so right now, phase 2 of the project was just completed. Yeah. I think they had a little ceremony of ribbon cutting last week.
Yeah, TV20 was there.
Right. Right, and so, and those parts of it, you know, a lot of that work was already underway with University Circle. So really, the heart of Opportunity Corridor will be the phase 3, which will be connecting, starting in the the Buckeye area, and it will go through Kinsman, the Garden Valley area, which is my ward, and then end up in Broadway, Slavic Village, in the Hyacinth neighborhood, which is also my ward. And so, yeah, the biggest part of this project is phase 3, and this is what's coming up. So it's, you know, it's been a challenge, I have to admit. It's really been a challenge over the years, because I'll tell you, my biggest concern is that, you know, we don't just have a road that goes through the neighborhood, and you don't worry about the people who live in the community already. And so for me, the most important part of this project is making sure that we can leverage the road project, for development for the neighborhoods that surround it. And so that's been my real focus. The road's taken care of, it's funded, it's, you know, it's planned, and everything's in place. And so how do we make the neighborhoods that surround it better? And so that's been a real big concern of mine.
Absolutely. How is it positively going to impact your residents?
Well, this is, you know, what we have to make happen. You know, it's not going to happen on its own. We have to make sure that we can attract development, using the project to attract development to the neighborhood. Not just anything, because we get a lot of inquiries and a lot of people want to do a lot of things. You know, you see vacant land, you know, it's certainly an opportunity. But, you know, every opportunity is not good for the people in the neighborhood. You know, we need more housing. We need more affordable housing in the neighborhood. People in the community need jobs, and they need good paying jobs, not just, you know, fast food or, you know, retail lower paying jobs. You know, we really, really want to attract jobs and industries to the area that will provide sustainable wages, wages that people can live and raise their families on. And so that's, for me, that's one of the biggest challenges with Opportunity Corridor. And how do we do that? How do we get the resources to do it? We know how to do it. How do we get the resources to do what we like to do?
Right?
Oh, it is, absolutely, absolutely. And so, and then in the Hyacinth neighborhood, Broadway Slavic Village, it's a neighborhood that has not seen any investment in decades. And so how do we make sure that what we bring to the area is going to help the people who are there and not displace people? That's something that really concerns me, that because again, it's very easy just to develop, and there are people who could come in tomorrow and put things up, but will they really help the community, or are they going to push people out? Are there going to be things that people in the community don't need? Are they going to be harmful, incompatible with the people who are living there now? And that's foremost in my mind.
In your Kinsman neighborhood, I want to make sure I say this right, you have a 28-acre urban agriculture innovation zone. What is this zone? Tell us about this.
Okay, now this is, the urban ag zone has been around for a while. And we were in on the ground floor, so to speak, in the Cleveland area with urban farming. And so, you see a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of urban farms now, but we were one of the first. And we just saw that this was a coming movement, and we had a lot of land, and what do we do with it in the meantime? And it was something that was really, it didn't take a lot of capital to get into in the beginning, and so that's what we decided to do. And one of our biggest and most well-known urban farms is the Ridall Green Partnership. A great business and enterprise that people come from all over the country to see. And if I could just take a moment of privilege to mention, one of the founders of the Ridall Green Partnership, Damien Forche, passed away suddenly 2 weeks ago. And so it's a really big loss for the community, and of course, to his own family. And if I could publicly just say that, to his family, that I'm very sorry for your loss, and we are all very sorry, and we will all remember Damien and all his great work.
Well, it sounds like he's made a lasting impact in our community with this. And how do you want to go forward carrying on his legacy with it?
Well, that will be up to the other partners. We're going to support what they do. They're the experts in urban farming. I don't come into a project and say, okay, this is what I want you to do. I look at a project and, I vet it, and once I feel like it's going to be good and it's going to be good for the community, my role is, how do I help? How do I help? I can decide. I'm going to support, Ridall. They're doing some things. They're looking at actually building a vegan restaurant on their footprint, and so they're doing some things. They produce, of course, the usual crops, greens, produce, greens, and other vegetables. But one of the more innovative things that they do is they breed tilapia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they have an aquaponic tank, and they're breeding tilapia right there on off of 81st and Kinsman.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
and different. That's very unique for your neighborhood.
Absolutely, and for most neighborhoods.
Well, for Cleveland, I mean, that puts your neighborhoods apart from some of the others.
Absolutely,
you have something like this.
Yeah, so we're doing that. We also have the Green City Growers, a hydroponic greenhouse on Grand and Kinsman. And it's actually a social enterprise that was created by the Cleveland Foundation. It's a part of the Evergreen Co-ops. But the people who work there become owners of the business as a cooperative works, and they acquire equity in the business and accumulate wealth as well as getting a paycheck every couple of weeks, and they grow millions of heads of lettuce that they supply to restaurants and institutions like Case Western Reserve, Cleveland State, around the city and the nearby area. So, a couple of weeks ago, we had a real big scare with romaine lettuce.
Yes.
Well, Green City Growers was there, and we knew that there was no threats in their lettuce.
That's wonderful. That is so wonderful.
Yes.
What do you hope overall having these different urban farming opportunities provides for the neighborhoods in the future? What do you hope happens next with them? Do you want to grow?
I think one of well, you know, it has its place. You know, urban farming has its place, and I think one of the really important things that they do that's really not talked about is that they educate people in the community on healthy eating and healthy living. You know, if we as residents are empowered to know how we should eat, how we should take care of our bodies, then, you know, we're all better for it. And so, you know, in terms of urban farming, you know, it's going to be limited. You know, we're not going to do this completely across the city. You know, we can't sustain ourselves that way. But, you know, it's very important, and it's going to be a very important part of the food justice movement and a part of empowering members of our community.
That's great. Now, you mentioned them earlier. Burton Bell Carr is the Neighborhood Development Corporation that you support, and they're doing a lot for your neighborhoods. Tell us a little bit about that. Okay.
Well, let me say this. Now, they're one of my community development corporations. Oh. They're the largest in that, you know, the majority of my neighborhood is covered by their service area, but I also have Slavic Village Development and the Campus District and Midtown. So, you know, again, Burton Bell Carr, you know, I mentioned the radio station. I think everyone was familiar with Bridgeport Cafe, our restaurant social enterprise that started about 6 years ago. And actually, Bridgeport Cafe has transitioned, and it's now going to be opening under new management, a new private management. So we were able to grow the business and sustain it for 6 years, which is a long time in the life of a restaurant.
For restaurants, yes.
And particularly one in a neighborhood like ours. So, you know, I'm going to be really pleased to see the opening of the new restaurant called Sunshine Cafe. Akin Africa, who's the owner of Angie's Restaurants and Zanzibar Cafe, this will be his venture.
Oh, wonderful.
You know, right here in our neighborhood. So we're very pleased to have, you know, Akin Africa stepping up and taking over the restaurant business. So it's going to be great. Again, Burton Bell Carr is doing the box spot development, the shipping container retail center, and we're going to have, I think there's going to be a restaurant in there, beauty salon, barbershop, and one of the businesses that I'm really just taken with is an optician. There's an African-American woman who's an optician, and so she's going to open her shop, one of her shops right there in the box spot. So that's going to be fantastic. A
lot of opportunities and jobs being created in the neighborhood. It's wonderful.
And businesses being grown, and that it's just really great, and not just for the businesses they provide, but I think they also provide. They become role models for people in the community to look and say, hey, that's someone like me, who's doing business, who has their own business, has their own office, their own store. Maybe somebody in the community will look and say, I can do the same thing.
This is kind of a two-part question. First, what do you think is the biggest misconception about Ward 5?
I think people don't recognize or realize all of the great things we have going on. We've talked about many of those. Yeah. And part of it is the perception. A third of all public housing in this city is in Ward 5, in my ward. And I mean, it's been that way for, a long time. And again, I grew up in the neighborhood. I grew up in public housing. So, I'm not afraid of it. I'm very familiar with it. I know it. Many people that I know and love grew up in public housing. So, and so sometimes people have the perception that there's something wrong with people who live in public housing or who grew up in public housing. There's a stigma attached to people just because of where they live or what type of housing they live in. And so, I would say to anybody, you can't stereotype people from where they come from or where they live or where they grew up. I'm a prime example. Again, I grew up in public housing. I've lived in the same neighborhood my entire life, and I've had a chance to see my neighborhood grow from just public housing and then years later to really having just a lot of vacant and abandoned property. But in addition to public housing, we also have a lot of market rate housing. You know, we did a lot of market rate building in the early 2000s, up until the time that the economy started crashing. So, you know, it's a neighborhood that works mixed income, public housing, you know, working people.
And a lot of new homes being built there,
yes,
replacing the abandoned ones.
Yes, yes. So, and so I think, and you just have to, you can't judge people. And, you know, even in, you know, in the Broadway Slavic Village neighborhood, you know, it's a neighborhood that went through, you know, that was hit terribly hard by the foreclosure crisis. People like to say that the people who were there, you know, are people who couldn't escape, but a lot of those people who are still there are people who want to be there and love their neighborhoods fiercely and want to rebuild their neighborhoods. And so I would say just, you know, you can't judge people. You know, people in Cleveland are resilient, and, you know, we're fiercely dedicated to our communities. We love our city. We love, you know, we love Cleveland. You know, we love our Cavs and our Browns, and
Right.
and
Even for
you know,
losing.
and that's, well, you know, we know it's going to turn around.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to do everything we can to turn things around. That's the Cleveland attitude.
That's right. Second part of that question, what do you think is the biggest misconception about being on city council?
People don't understand what we really do, and that's really unfortunate, because I think if people really understood, you know, what our day was like. And I'll just throw something out to you, Leah. You know, you and TV20, you should, you know, come follow some of us around for a day. Just, you know, bring your cameras and come and see what we do. You know, there's the legislation and policy end of what we do. And you know, so we have committee hearings, and we deliberate and pass a lot of important legislation. The city's a $500 million corporation, $500 million. And more than that, if you include the enterprise funds like the airport and the water, water department and CPP. You know, this is a big corporation, so it's not, you know, the city's not a charity. And so it's, you know, we make very important decisions, and we have to be very mindful of what we do on that end. But a bigger part of what we do, and not more important, just bigger in terms of the time demands, are constituent services. You know, any council member is probably getting anywhere from 50 to 100 calls and emails a day from residents, constituents, businesses in the community, and others, you know, asking for something from us, asking for our help for something. You know, whether it's resources for the community or services, if there's a pothole or a vacant house that needs to be boarded up or torn down, if there's some crime activity, or someone's looking to come to the neighborhood with a new business and they need to sit down with you, you know. So we have, you know, tremendous demands on our time, and so you know, you have to balance these two things. And you know, sometimes people see, you know, you may see a ribbon cutting on TV, but that's, you know, that's just the icing on the cake. When you see a ribbon cutting, we probably spent, you know, I would say I probably spent months, if not years, working on that project, you know, along with developers and other partners. And so people, you know, really don't see the breadth of what we do. You know, people call city council when they don't know where else to call. People, you know, who are homeless or about to be homeless, you know, who have issues with their children, who are, you know, trying to find services for their children. They need legal help. Someone's about to be evicted, and you know, one of the things, you know, we're some of our council members have been working with legal aid on making sure that individuals who are being evicted have a right to counsel at eviction hearings. So, you know, we're working on a lot of important initiatives as well. And you know, there's just so much going on, but you know, City Council, and particularly Cleveland City Council, you know, we're hands-on. We're not, you know, we don't sit in an ivory tower and then just come out and cut ribbons. You know, we do a lot of grunt work that people don't see, and so I would just say that, you know, that's one of the biggest misconceptions. You know, we work very hard, and people call you sometimes. It may not be, and often it's not, you know, within 9 to 5. You know, sometimes people, they may not be nice. You know, they may be very angry or frustrated about something that they have a right to be angry and frustrated about. It may not necessarily be directed towards towards me or towards us, but they don't know where else to go. So, when I get those calls, I'm trying to figure out, okay, is there something I can do? And if I can't do it, who can I direct that person to so that they can get the help they need?
Right.
And I believe that's a part of what I'm here to do as well.
You act as the resource.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I'm a resource.
Is there anything else you think viewers should know about Ward 5?
They're great communities. It's not just one neighborhood. Again, as I mentioned, there are many communities. In Midtown, we've got some great thriving businesses. A few years ago, the Health Tech Corridor was built, and there's some innovative businesses going on there you wouldn't believe. There's a heart lab that does diagnostic testing for hospitals from around the world, not just in Cleveland, not just the United States, but around the world. There's an eye lab that manufactures pupils.
Wow.
And again, they deal with companies and hospitals all over the world. Chamberlain Nursing School is there in the Health Tech Corridor. Just a lot of great things going on. And we're going to be looking at doing a streetscape for Carnegie. Euclid's been done, Chester's been done. So it's a Prospect, there's been some things done. So now it's time to look at Carnegie and what can we do in Carnegie. With Burton Bell Carr, we went through an extensive neighborhood planning process with residents. And we came up with a beautiful neighborhood plan, for different parts of the neighborhood. And so, we're looking, how do we start to implement the plan? In the Broadway Slavic Village, we've got some really exciting things on the horizon that are too early to talk about. But I'll say this: when you look at downtown and what's been happening and the growth of the population downtown. Downtown's just about built out. So where are they going next? They're looking at Broadway.
Yeah.
And they're looking at Broadway. So it's pretty exciting to see what could happen, but at the same time, there's that challenge of making sure that, what happens doesn't displace the people who are there and the people who stayed there.
Yeah.
The people who committed to stay in the neighborhood. So, but it's going to be pretty exciting. So, we got some things coming, and I wish I could say more right now, but
We can't get that scoop.
I can't. No, I don't want to. That would be a little irresponsible for me to do it right now. But as soon as I know something, Leah, I will call you first.
All right, counting on it. Lastly, how can we get more information on Ward 5 if residents want to get more information on events, residential, businesses?
Oh, sure. If two really, one really big thing. We have our Ward 5 festival. Mm-hmm. It's usually the last Saturday in June, and again, we're going to start gearing up and planning for next year. It's always a big event, and we welcome everybody, not just Ward 5 residents, but people from across the city. Come out and have a good time. And so we're looking forward to that. But and we do have other annual events. We do an Easter egg hunt for children. So. And again, when we do events, I like to have people from all over come. And I enjoy going to events in other communities. That's part of the beauty of Cleveland. To find out what's going on, you can call my office, 216-664-2309. You can email us, pcleveland@clevelandcitycouncil.org. Or you can go on the council website, and there's a link on the website that will allow you to email me directly. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, and people actually contact me, through social media. So, if you want to know something, I would say first of all, either call or email the office, but catch me however you can. That's
There's
fine.
many ways to get connected.
That's fine.
Which is great. Well, thank you so much for being in studio with us today, Councilwoman. It's been a pleasure having you.
Leah, thank you so much. Thank you. I enjoyed being here, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk about some of the great things happening in Ward 5 in our community.
And thank you for tuning in to Catching Up with Council. Of course, we'll have all this information for you on our website, tv20cleveland.com. I'm Leah Hasledge. Until next time.